I got the call at 11:47 on a Tuesday night. I know the exact time because I was already in bed, reading an old John Grisham novel I'd read 3 times before. The ringtone cut through the quiet like a siren, and for a second, I just stared at the phone on my nightstand. It was her face on the screen. My daughter. The same face that had smiled at me in the family photos on the wall. The same face that had looked through me like I was a stranger at her engagement party 6 months ago. I answered it. I couldn't not answer it. No matter what had happened, she was my blood. Dad? Her voice was just a whisper. A broken, empty whisper that didn't sound anything like the confident, determined woman who had walked down the aisle 3 days ago. I felt my chest tighten. Something was wrong. Something was deeply, terribly wrong. Lily? What is it? What happened? I was already sitting up, swinging my legs out of bed, my heart pounding against my ribs. She didn't answer at first. I just heard her breathing, shallow and ragged, like she'd been running. Or crying. Probably crying. Then she took a shaky breath, and the words came out in a rush, so quiet I almost missed them. He doesn't love me, Dad. He never did. He just wanted my trust fund. I'm so stupid. I'm so sorry. The words hung in the air between us, heavy and sad. I closed my eyes and leaned my head against my hand. 1,000 thoughts flooded my mind. Lily, my only child, who I had raised alone after her mother left when she was 7. The same Lily I had put through college, helped buy her first car, and watched grow into a bright, beautiful, strong-willed woman. And then I thought of Daniel, her fiancé, the man she had chosen over her own family. I took a slow, deep breath. "Where are you, sweetheart?" "At the hotel. The honeymoon suite." He left. He just got up and left. He said he was going to get ice, but he took his suitcase. "I'm on my way," I said. "I'll be there in an hour." "No, Dad. I don't deserve you coming to save me. I was so horrible to you. I don't care about that right now," I said. "Text me the address. I'm leaving in 5 minutes." I hung up and got dressed in the dark. Jeans, a t-shirt, and a worn-out pair of sneakers that squeaked a little when I walked. I grabbed my keys, my wallet, and a sweatshirt from the hook by the front door. It was a long drive to the city, an hour and a half in good traffic. But at this time of night, the roads would be empty. I needed to be there. As I pulled out of my quiet suburban driveway, the streetlights casting long shadows over my lawn, my mind drifted back to the beginning of this whole mess. To the day my world started to fall apart. It was about 8 months ago, in the middle of September. The leaves were just starting to turn orange and red in the neighborhood, and I was sitting on my back porch with a cup of coffee, listening to the birds. My life was quiet. I'd been a high school history teacher for almost 30 years, and I was about 6 months away from retirement. My wife, Sarah, had been gone for 10 years. Cancer. It was just me, my books, my garden, and my daughter. Lily was my pride and joy. She was 26 and worked as a graphic designer at a marketing agency downtown. She lived in a small apartment with a roommate, but she came home every Sunday for dinner. It was our ritual. I'd make a pot roast or lasagna, something she grew up eating, and we would talk for hours about everything and nothing. She told me about her work, her friends, her little victories and frustrations. I told her about my students and the books I was reading. It was simple and perfect. That Sunday, she seemed different. She was fidgety, playing with her fork, not eating much. I knew something was on her mind. "All right, Lily," I said, putting down my own fork. "Spill it. You've been pushing your carrots around your plate for 20 minutes. What's going on?" She looked up at me, and her face broke into this wide, excited smile. It was the smile she used to get on Christmas morning when she was little. "Dad, I met someone." "Oh," I said, leaning back in my chair. "And who is this someone?" "His name is Daniel. Daniel Whitmore. He's a financial consultant, Dad. He's so smart and handsome. We met at a gallery opening a few weeks ago. It was just supposed to be a casual thing, but, Dad, I think he's the one. I was happy for her, of course. She'd been single for a while, too focused on her career, as she put it. That's wonderful, Lily. Tell me more about him. He's from a really good family, Dad. His father is a CEO of some big tech company, and they live in one of those huge houses in the hills. They're very well connected. Something in the way she said that made my stomach turn. Good family, she said, like it was the most important thing. I didn't want to be cynical, but I'd been around long enough to know that good family and good people were two very different things. I'm glad you're happy, honey, I said. When do I get to meet him? Soon, she said, but she was already looking at her phone, scrolling through her texts. He's really busy. He's been managing a lot of big accounts lately, so his schedule is crazy. But he's so driven, Dad. He knows what he wants. Over the next few weeks, I heard a lot about Daniel. I heard about his designer suits, his luxury car, his expensive taste in wine. Lily's descriptions of him were all about the things he had, not who he was. I felt a small seed of worry planting itself in my gut, but I wanted to be supportive. It was her life, after all. When I finally did meet him, it was at an upscale restaurant downtown that I would never have chosen myself. The menu was in French, and the cheapest glass of wine cost more than my weekly grocery bill. Daniel was already there when we arrived, sitting at a corner table with a martini in front of him. He stood up when he saw us, a practiced, calculated smile on his face. He was handsome. I'll give him that. Tall, with dark hair and a chiseled jaw. He looked like he'd just stepped out of a magazine. He was wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car. "Mr. Miller," he said, extending a hand. His grip was firm, but it felt rehearsed. "It's a pleasure to finally meet you. Lily has told me so much about you." "Please, call me Frank," I said, taking my seat. "It's nice to meet you too, Daniel." The conversation was stilted. Daniel did most of the talking, or rather, he did most of the bragging. He told me about his penthouse apartment, his vintage car collection, his trips to Europe. He name-dropped CEOs and politicians like they were casual friends. He talked about his family's legacy, their reputation, their standing in the community. I tried to ask him real questions. "What do you enjoy doing in your free time?" I asked. "Do you have any hobbies?" He laughed, a short, dismissive sound. "Frank, my work is my hobby. I don't have time for frivolous things. You have to stay focused to be successful. I'm sure you understand." I didn't say anything, just nodded. He didn't ask me a single question about myself. Not one. He didn't ask about my job, my students, my life. It was as if I were just an obstacle he had to get through to be with Lily. I glanced at Lily, hoping to see that she saw it too. But she was just gazing at him, starry-eyed. She was completely taken in by his charm and his money. The next few weeks were a blur of expensive restaurants, lavish gifts, and grand gestures. Daniel was sweeping Lily off her feet, and she was loving every second of it. Then came the engagement. He proposed in a hot air balloon at sunset, I found out later. It was the kind of story you see in movies. A massive diamond ring, a photographer hiding in the bushes, the whole production. Lily was over the moon. The engagement party was at his parents' mansion. It was the first time I met them, and it confirmed everything I'd been afraid of. His father, Richard Whitmore, looked at me like I was something stuck to the bottom of his shoe. His mother, Margaret, was so polite it felt like a weapon. She asked me what I did for a living, and when I said I was a history teacher, she gave a little, "Oh, how noble," and then promptly turned her back on me. The air in that house was cold and sterile. It didn't feel like a home. It felt like a museum. Everything was white and beige and perfect, and everyone spoke in hushed, important tones. I felt like I was on another planet. Lily introduced me to people as my dad, but the way she said it felt different, like she was trying to distance herself from me. I saw her friends from college, bright young things like her, and she talked to them about their startups and their vacations to the Hamptons. I was just standing there with a glass of champagne I didn't want, wearing a suit I'd bought 3 years ago. Later that night, I pulled Lily aside. We went out to a small balcony overlooking the perfectly manicured gardens. "Lily," I said, Can we talk for a minute? She looked impatient, checking her phone for messages. Sure, Dad, but I'm kind of busy. There are so many people here. I know, honey, and I'm proud of you. But I need to ask you something, and I want you to be honest with me. I paused, trying to find the right words. Are you sure about this? About Daniel? She looked up at me, her eyes narrowing. What do you mean, am I sure? Of course I'm sure. I love him. I know you think you do, I said gently. But when you're young, it's easy to get caught up in the excitement. The fancy dinners, the gifts, the attention. Those aren't the things that make a marriage last, Lily. I want you to look at how he treats people, how he treats waiters, how he talks to people he doesn't need something from. That's who he really is, underneath the suit and the car. He treats me like a princess, she shot back. He's never been anything but wonderful to me. Baby, I'm not saying he's not wonderful to you. I'm saying, look at him. Look at his family. They look down on us, Lily. They look down on me. And maybe that's starting to rub off on you. Her face turned red. Are you saying I'm becoming some kind of snob? No, I'm not saying that, I said, trying to keep my voice calm. I'm just saying that this world of money and status, it can change a person. It can make them forget what's really important. And I'm scared that in a few years, you're going to wake up and realize that you gave up a part of yourself to be a part of his world. She didn't answer for a long moment. She just stared at me with a hard, cold look I'd never seen before. Then she took a step back. You know, Dad, she said, her voice shaking, I thought you would be happy for me. I'm marrying a man who can provide for me, a man who can give me everything I've ever wanted. And all you can do is stand here and try to tear him down because you're jealous. Jealous? I was stunned. Lily, that's not it at all. I'm not jealous. I'm worried. There's a big difference. No, Dad, you're jealous because he's successful. You're jealous because he's rich. You're just a poor history teacher who never made anything of himself, and you can't stand to see your own daughter do better. The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt the blood drain from my face. I opened my mouth to say something, but no words came out. She shook her head, tears in her eyes. I can't do this right now. I can't believe you would do this to me. On my engagement night. She turned and walked back inside, disappearing into the crowd. I stood on the balcony alone for a long time, staring out at the darkness. It felt like a curtain had come down between us. Things got worse after that. Lily started avoiding me. Our Sunday dinners became a thing of the past. When I called, she would find an excuse to get off the phone quickly. I would leave her voicemails just asking how she was, and she would respond with a text, always short and distant. One day, a few weeks before the wedding, I got an envelope in the mail. It was from Lily. Inside was an invitation to the wedding and a handwritten note. Dad, I think it's best if you just come as a guest. The seating chart is already finalized, and I don't want any awkwardness at the front. I love you, but you need to accept that Daniel is my future. I hope you'll still come. I didn't get it at first. Then it sank in. She was telling me that I wasn't walking her down the aisle. It felt like she had reached into my chest and ripped my heart out. I called her, and this time she answered. Lily, what is this? What do you mean you don't want me to walk you down the aisle? Dad, listen, she said, her voice impatient. Daniel's father is going to do it. He's done so much for us, and he's very well respected. It's going to be in a lot of magazines and newspapers. It's a better look, Dad. A better look? I echoed, my voice cracking. I'm your father. I raised you. I was there for every school play, every soccer game, every single night you had a nightmare. And this is about a better look? Dad, I don't have time for this. I love you, but you need to understand. Daniel's family has helped us a lot. They paid for everything. The venue, the dress, the caterers. They've been incredibly generous. Richard Whitmore, he's the head of the family. It's his right. I see, I said, my voice flat. It's about the money. It's not about the money. she snapped. It's about respect, and you don't show any respect for Daniel or his family. You never gave him a chance. I gave him a chance, I said quietly. The problem is, he gave me no reason to trust him. Then don't come, she said, her voice cold. If you can't support me, then just don't come. I'll be there, I said, surprising myself. I'll be there, Lily, because you're my daughter, and no matter what you do, I will never stop loving you. I had to go. I had to see it for myself. The wedding was a spectacle. It was held at a beautiful old cathedral in the city, with flowers everywhere and a choir singing. The pews were packed with wealthy-looking people. I was seated near the back, tucked behind a pillar, like an afterthought. When Lily walked down the aisle, she was on the arm of Richard Whitmore. She looked beautiful, of course. Her dress was gorgeous, and she had this perfect, serene smile on her face. She didn't look for me in the crowd. It was like I was invisible. I watched her walk away from me, toward Daniel, toward a life I knew was a mistake. Now, driving down the dark highway toward the hotel, the memory of that day was like a fresh wound. I remembered the numbness I felt, the loneliness. It was a pain that went deeper than anything I'd ever felt. I'd been a single father for almost 2 decades. I'd worked my fingers to the bone to give Lily a good life. I'd stayed home from work when she was sick. I'd taught her how to ride a bike. I'd held her hand at her mother's funeral. And she had thrown it all away for a man with a fat wallet. But here I was, at 11:47 on a Tuesday night, racing to a hotel to pick up the pieces. That's what parents do. We never stop being parents, no matter how much our children hurt us. I pulled into the hotel parking lot at a little after 1 in the morning. It was one of those massive, glittering hotels downtown. I found her room and knocked. The door opened a crack, and I saw one of her eyes peeking out at me. "Dad?" she whispered. "It's me, baby. Let me in." She opened the door, and my heart broke. She was still wearing a white silk robe, but her makeup was smeared. Her beautiful blonde hair was a mess. Her eyes were red and swollen. She looked like a lost little girl. "Oh, sweetheart," I said, opening my arms. She fell into them, sobbing. "I'm so sorry, Dad. I'm so sorry." "It's okay," I said, holding her tight. "It's okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." We stood there for a long time, just holding each other. Then she pulled back, and I led her to the couch in the sitting area of the suite. I took a seat, and she sat down across from me, wringing her hands. "What happened, Lily?" I asked gently. "Tell me everything. It was a nightmare," she said, her voice trembling. "From the very beginning. The wedding, it wasn't about us. It was about his parents. Margaret planned everything. She made all the decisions. My dress, the flowers, the guest list, even the music. I just had to show up and smile." "Daniel didn't stand up for you?" She let out a bitter laugh. "Daniel? Daniel only cares about one thing, and that's himself. He didn't care about me. He wanted to show off his beautiful trophy wife to all his rich friends. The reception was a business meeting. He spent the whole time networking, shaking hands, talking about deals. He ignored me, Dad. He completely ignored me. I felt a familiar anger rising in my chest, but I kept my voice calm. "What happened tonight?" She took a shaky breath. "After the reception, we came here. We had the suite for the night. We were going to leave for our honeymoon tomorrow to St. Bart's." I tried to talk to him. I told him how I felt, about the wedding, about his parents. I was crying. I told him he should have stood up for me. "He didn't like that?" "He got angry," she said, her voice dropping. "He told me I was ungrateful, that his parents had given us this incredible wedding, and that I was being a spoiled brat. He told me I was lucky he even wanted to marry me. He said he only did it because his father wanted the family connection." "Connection?" "To my trust fund, Dad. He found out about it. Mum's life insurance policy, the money Grandma left me. He thought it was a lot more than it actually is. He's drowning in debt, Dad. He and his father, they're broke. They spent all this money on the wedding, on the house, on the cars, and they were banking on my money to bail them out. I closed my eyes. It was worse than I thought. He wasn't just a jerk. He was a con artist. He told me all of this tonight, she continued, her voice shaking. He said he was sick of pretending. He said he hated my middle-class values and my simple family. He said I was just a country bumpkin to him. Then he packed his bags and left. He said he'd file for an annulment in the morning and that he'd be taking my car as compensation for emotional distress. I opened my eyes and looked at her. Her face was a mess of tears and guilt. She looked so small and broken. "Dad," she whispered, "you were right. About everything. I was so stupid. I was so blinded by the money and the fancy things. I treated you horribly. I told you I didn't want you to walk me down the aisle. I was so horrible to you. And you still came. You still came to get me." "Lily," I said, reaching out and taking her hand. "You're my daughter. That's what you do for the people you love." "But why?" she cried. "I didn't deserve it. I chose him over you. I chose money over family. How can you ever forgive me?" I squeezed her hand. "I forgave you the second you called me. Because I know who you really are. You're not a snob, Lily. You got lost for a little while. That's all. We all do. What matters is that you found your way back." "But Dad, I don't have anything," she said, her voice breaking. "I walked away from my job, my apartment. I quit my job because Daniel said he'd take care of everything. I don't have a car. I don't have any money. I literally have nothing." "Look at me," I said, my voice firm but gentle. "You have me. You have a home. You have your health. You have a chance to start over. That's more than a lot of people have. But the shame, Dad, my friends, everyone, they all saw me. They saw me walk down the aisle. They'll all be laughing at me." "Your real friends won't be laughing," I said. "And as for the rest of them, who cares? Let them talk. Their opinions don't matter. What matters is you learning from this and becoming a stronger person." I saw a glimmer of something in her eyes. Not happiness, not yet, but hope. "What am I going to do?" she asked. "First," I said, "we're going to pack your bags and go home. I'll make you some coffee and we'll figure the rest out in the morning. One step at a time. That's how you rebuild a life. One step at a time." She nodded, wiping her eyes. I helped her pack her things. There wasn't much. A few pieces of designer luggage and a wedding dress she'd never be able to look at again. We didn't talk much on the drive home. She fell asleep in the passenger seat, exhausted. I drove through the quiet night, watching the lights of the city fade away in my rearview mirror, taking my daughter back home, away from the glitter and the lies. The next morning, I woke up early and made a big breakfast. Pancakes, bacon, eggs. The kind of breakfast I used to make her when she was a kid. I heard her pad down the stairs around 8 o'clock. She looked like she hadn't slept at all. "Morning," I said, sliding a plate in front of her. "Eat. You need to keep your strength up." She stared at the food, then looked at me. "Dad, I really don't deserve this." "Stop saying that," I said firmly. "Now, let's talk. What's the plan?" She took a bite of pancake, chewing slowly. "I don't even know where to start." "First," I said, "we need to contact a lawyer. Make sure Daniel doesn't try to take anything. The annulment is his idea, so let him have it. We need to make sure your name is clear. I don't have any money for a lawyer, Dad." "Let me worry about that," I said. "I have some savings put away. We'll figure it out. Second, you need to start looking for a job. You're a talented graphic designer. You'll find something soon." "Dad," she said, looking at me with watery eyes, "why are you doing this? You're not rich. You're about to retire. And I'm just a burden to you." I reached over the table and took her hand. "Lily, listen to me. For most of my life, my job was to keep you safe, to give you a good childhood. I didn't always succeed, but that was my job. That's what I wanted to do. Then you grew up, and I had to learn to let you go and make your own decisions, even when I thought they were wrong. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do." I paused, making sure I had her full attention. But now, I'm not doing this because it's my job. I'm doing this because I want to. Because we don't get many chances to truly help the people we love. And you're my daughter. Seeing you hurt like this, it cuts me deep. But it also makes me realize how much I've taken our relationship for granted. What do you mean? She asked. I was so focused on you choosing him that I forgot to focus on you. I was angry and hurt, but I never stopped thinking about you. And this past month, without you, I realized that I wasn't living. I was just existing. The house was empty. The silence was loud. I was counting the days until I could retire and do what? Sit in a quiet house all alone? I took a deep breath. We don't have to have the perfect relationship, Lily. We just have to be there for each other. And that's what we are going to do now. We're going to rebuild. Together. One step at a time. She started crying again, but this time it was different. It wasn't sorrow or grief. It was relief. A release of all the tension and shame she had been holding inside. I love you, Dad, she whispered. I love you too, sweetheart. Now eat your bacon before it gets cold. It's been 3 months since that night. Life is different now. Lily is living with me, and she's been taking it slow. She got a job at a small design studio in town. It doesn't pay as much as her fancy job in the city, but she loves it. The people are kind, and she feels appreciated. The annulment went through without a hitch. Daniel was so eager to be free of her, he didn't even fight it. I think he realized she didn't have the money he thought she did. Good riddance. I've seen him in the paper once or twice, always in the business section. I don't think his family's finances have gotten any better, but that's none of my business. Last Sunday, I was back on my porch with my coffee, and Lily came out and sat in the chair beside me. She was wearing an old pair of jeans and one of my sweatshirts. She looked like her old self again. What are you thinking about? I asked her. She smiled, a real smile. I was thinking about how peaceful it is here. The birds are so loud. I used to think this was so boring, but now, I don't know. It feels like home. It is home, I said. She looked at me. Dad, I want to thank you for everything, for coming to get me, for not saying I told you so, for just being my dad. I'll always be your dad. That's a promise. And you know what? I'm glad you made mistakes. It means you're living. It means you're trying. And as long as you keep trying, you're going to be just fine. She reached over and squeezed my hand. So what are we doing for the 4th of July this year? I was thinking we could have a barbecue, I said. Invite some of your new friends from work. Maybe I can dig out the old grill. That sounds perfect, she said. That sounds like exactly what we need. The silence settled between us again, but it wasn't an empty silence this time. It was a comfortable one. The silence of a family healing. I look at her now and I don't see the woman who made a terrible mistake. I see my daughter. I see a strong young woman who got knocked down but is getting back up. And in a way, I'm grateful for the whole ordeal. It brought her back to me, and it taught me a lesson too. A lesson about forgiveness. A lesson about letting go of hurt. A lesson that love isn't about being right. It's about being there. It's not a perfect life. We're not rich. We'll probably never live in a mansion or have a car collection. But we have what matters. We have each other. We have a future. And that's more than enough. So, if there's one thing I've learned through all of this, it's that family is not about the blood in your veins. It's about the love in your heart. And no matter how far a family member strays, if the love is strong enough, it will always find a way to bring them back home. My daughter chose a rich fiancé over me, and she found out the hard way that money can't buy you love. And it definitely can't buy you a father who will drive an hour and a half in the middle of the night just to hold you when you're crying. That kind of love, you can't put a price tag on it. It's priceless, and it's the only thing that really matters in the end. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe to Family Honor Files for more unforgettable stories of family, courage, forgiveness, justice, and second chances. Your support helps us bring more meaningful stories to people who need them. Thank you for being part of the Family Honor Files community.